All right, we are live. Hello, everyone. I'll let the viewers start coming on and then we'll get started. Let's see.
Hello, everyone.
Oh, I always do this. Okay, it's so funny. How many times have I done these? I always leave the volume on the other computer. Okay. Well, they're starting to roll on. Let's see. Okay, here they go. Hi, everyone. How are you? We are so excited to have you tonight for our Path to Pregnancy, the third webinar of the series. And I'm really excited for my guest this evening. She's an amazing woman and a dear friend who's in my heart always. So for those of you who don't know who I am, I'm Aimee Raupp, as says my title. I am the author of this book, Yes, You Can Get Pregnant. I also authored a book called Chill Out and Get Healthy, and I'm currently working on my third book, which will be published by Hay House and out in early 2018 and called Body Belief. I created this webinar series, the Path to Pregnancy series, because I wanted to highlight women that I have worked with and have helped overcome fertility challenges so that they could conceive. It is my expertise to help women optimize their health and their fertility. I have helped thousands of women do that, and I plan to help thousands more. So what I've learned over my 13 years of clinical practice, that's insane to say out loud, is that most women on their path to pregnancy, wherever they are, whether they're thinking about trying at some point or they're years into trying, they often feel alone. They often have worries and fears that they don't express to others because there just seems to be shame around this whole topic, and I'm trying to eliminate that. So I wanted to get real, live women who are also influencers and you know, they all seem to be entrepreneurs as well. That wasn't intentional, but just leaders, if you will, in their field, that I wanted you to also understand that they too have their struggles, right? That everyone goes through something, and you know, to just remove that shame, to open up the conversation so that we can all start talking about this more freely and feel more supported on our path to pregnancy, wherever you are on that path, and that to understand that you are not alone. So without any more conversation, as we're going to have plenty, I'm going to let Arielle, my co-host this evening, introduce herself. I'm going to click over to her. Here we go.
Hi, everyone. For those of you that don't know me, and for those of you that do, hello. My name is Arielle Haspel, and I have a company called Be Well with Arielle. You could find me at bewellwitharielle.com. And I am a healthy cooking show host. I have 2 online shows, one called Treat Yourself with Glamour Magazine, and another called Clean Eating with healthynation.com. And I also see clients one-on-one for health coaching and healthy lifestyle. And I also have a self-love jewelry collection. Here is one of the creations, the I Love Me ring, which we will be telling you about later. But I'm really excited. Hey, Lee. My husband's making dinner tonight. But I'm really excited to share my challenges and my obstacles, but also my successes with fertility and my experience with working with Aimee. Because if it weren't for Aimee, and if it weren't for my husband Lee, and of course my body, I would not be pregnant with this little baby.
Aww.
So yes, I do give myself credit, and of course I give my husband credit, but I give Aimee, I would say, most of the credit. So my husband and I thank Aimee every day, and we're so grateful for all of the work that I've done with her and all the help that she's, and all of the help.
No, thank you, honey. I'll show everybody my I Love Me ring. I have it in gold. You have the gold one on too, right? Or is yours silver?
Gold.
Yeah. I'm obsessed with this ring. I gave it to everyone for Christmas last year, and then I eventually got myself one. But I love it. It says "I love me" on the inside of the ring, and it's just a nice reminder. So anyway, let's get to it. I want to, so Arielle is this, amazing health, coach and healthy cooking expert, and she just knows so much about healthy living and educates so many on how to make healthier choices in their life. And I think she's also a great, how do I say, like, example of someone who also used and needed support on her path to pregnancy, and that there is nothing wrong with that. Like we all do. I have someone that supports me while I'm planning to conceive again. I conceived naturally at the age of 40, just after 2 months of trying and following my own program. And I'm 42 now and plan to start trying again in about 3 months or so. But I seek support on my path, and I think we all should, and it's super important. So Arielle and I met kind of randomly, if you will, but there is no such thing as random, in my opinion, or coincidences, at one of Nitika Chopra's events, and we just got to talking, and I was working on the Yes You Can Get Pregnant cookbook, and I wanted to talk to her maybe about some recipes. And we met for tea, and that was when, she opened up about, and I'll let you tell it too, but she opened up about the fact that her periods were irregular, and she couldn't quite figure it out with everything that she knew and how well she treats her body. She still wasn't, figuring out her menstrual cycle, and it was frustrating to her and worrisome. They weren't currently trying to get pregnant, but just something that she wanted to work on. And so we started working together in the clinic, and she did some coaching with me, and now here we are with this beautiful pregnant belly. But why don't you tell a little backstory about your periods and even when we met and all of that?
Sure, yeah. So as Aimee mentioned, when we met, she told me about her fertility cookbook, and my ears totally lit up because I'm in the cooking and health world. And then I also knew that, fertility was going to be on my mind. It was definitely on my mind, but we weren't really ready to try just yet. That was probably 1.5 years ago, 2 years ago.
It was February. So yeah, it was like 1.5 years ago.
Yeah. So, and it actually happens to be right around when I'm due. So, which is actually.
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah.
So when I met Aimee, I wasn't really ready just yet to start trying, but I knew that no matter what, I'm always the type of person that I want to learn everything before I kind of start something. But also because it had to do with my health and because it had to do with a baby, I wanted to learn every single thing that I could in order to optimize my health, improve my fertility, and also create the healthiest baby that I could. So when I met Aimee, my ears popped up and I was like, oh my God, you're writing a fertility cookbook. I need to know you. I ended up getting her book, and that day, it came in the mail. That day, I remember I stood in my lobby and I was flipping through the pages. I was so excited to look through the info. And that night, I was reading in my bed and I was flipping through the pages and I was making so much noise because I was like so excited and I was, reading so much. And my husband turned to me, he's like, Arielle, can we go to sleep now? I'm like, no. I'm reading, I'm really excited. And so I ended up putting the book down and then taking my Kindle next to me and ordering it on the spot in bed that night. I literally could not put it down. So I tell that story because Aimee's book was really, really helpful in terms of, I finally found something that was a very joyful read. Even though, again, I had not been trying, I was still researching as much as possible. And again, as Aimee mentioned, my periods were not regular. So when your periods aren't regular, and mine happened to be, there was a very long span between my periods. So sometimes it was like 90 days that I didn't actually get my period. And so when you're not getting your period regularly, you're not ovulating regularly. And if you are just in the beginning of your path to pregnancy and you don't even know how to conceive a baby yet, you need to ovulate. You need to know when you're ovulating in order to have a baby, or it just happens, whenever, which hopefully you're lucky enough that that happens. But because I didn't know when I was ovulating, that became a frustration for me. But when I met Aimee, she told me that, you know, she focused on what was working. She asked me what was working in my body, which was really important for me. So I had hope from the beginning. And she definitely instilled a lot of hope and said, you know, we're going to work this out. So anyway, I had these very, very long periods. And again, you know, I knew how to regulate them on my own with certain supplements, but I knew that something was not quote unquote normal, because a normal cycle is like, you know, the 28 days, right? I knew something wasn't normal, but I'd taken such good care of my body and I eat so well. And, you know, I go to yoga and I try to meditate and I do all of these things. So what's missing? So that's when Aimee helped me. So, yeah, so Aimee, do you want to go through kind of your first protocol? Do you want me to talk about that?
You can talk. I'll chime in. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so when I first started working with Aimee, I went to her for acupuncture sessions, and her first consultation was about an hour and a half, and she also does that via Skype too. So if you are not able to come into her office in Manhattan or Nyack, you could also have a Skype session with her. So that was really helpful. She did a long, extensive questionnaire about my periods, not only how long they are, but how, like, what the blood looks like, the color of the blood, how much blood is coming out, how many tampons do I need to use, if I use a pad, how many pads am I using, what color is it, and like these questions that no doctor has ever asked me. I had never been diagnosed with anything before. When I'd gone to the doctor, all of my blood tests had come back normal. But Aimee looked at me and she said, I think you have something called PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome. And one of the symptoms is that you have very irregular periods. Very often with PCOS patients, they're overweight. And so when you are a normal weight, very often it's not really diagnosed. Yeah. So anyway, Aimee said, I think you have something called PCOS. And she also said, I think you may have a thyroid condition. And so I ended up going to a doctor. I actually went to an OBGYN. She checked my thyroid, and everything came back normal. And I went back to Aimee, and Aimee was like, something is still a little fishy. I want you to check your antibodies, your thyroid antibodies. And I ended up going to another doctor. And she said, oh, I've checked all of the thyroid that you need to, that you would ever need to know. All of the results, came back normal. You don't need the antibodies checked. No worries. And I went back to Aimee and was like, why isn't she checking this? It ended up that I had to research where to go, and I ended up going to a reproductive endocrinologist that was very willing to test my thyroid antibodies. His name is Dr. Hugh Melnick, and he's on the Upper East Side of Manhattan. And I really liked his energy, and he was able to check the thyroid antibodies, and they ended up coming back a little bit low. And so I went back to Aimee, and I said, Aimee, my thyroid, high. My thyroid, but on the cusp of being high, yeah. Which means that I had hypothyroidism. And so anyway, to make a long story short, the doctor said, in order to regulate, you will probably have to go on medication. And I said to Aimee, medication? No, like I don't even take Advil when I don't even get headaches. But like if I did have a headache, I wouldn't even take an Advil. I'm like not against medication by any means. But it was very difficult for me to think about needing medication because I take such good care of myself. So to make a longer story shorter, it was very difficult for me to make the decision, but I ended up taking the thyroid medication. I took the lowest dosage. I took half of the pill. And that day that I took it, I literally felt like a new person. I didn't even know that my energy levels, my energy level is pretty good all the time, but I had just more energy. I felt more grounded. I felt more clear-headed. And then my cycles actually started becoming more regular. So with Aimee's help, she was able to pinpoint exactly what my body needed in order to optimize my health. Now, in saying this didn't just happen in one session with Aimee. This didn't just happen in 1 month. This was over numerous months that I had to go to these doctors, and then I had to get the tests and everything like that. So we'll get more into that, but it took a while for me to get the test results. It took me a while to actually go on the medications, and then my period started regulating, and then I was able to track my ovulation correctly.
Yeah, and I just want to add in, because when we met, and like I do with any new client, it's I'll go over the entire health system, like how everything is working in your body. Most people don't realize that like their bowel movements or their body temperature have a lot to do with their fertility. And what I always say is your fertility is an extension of your health. They're not separate. And so, Arielle had great health, but she did run on the low energy side, and she was more cold, and then she had these irregular periods, and so she had these things that made me suspicious about the thyroid. And it's a classic situation that doctors check and they say, no, I checked your thyroid, everything's fine. And most of the time I say, let me see those numbers, because when I look for different things, and a lot of times they don't even check for. So with you, honey, too, it wasn't just the thyroid antibodies, it was the T3. Remember, the T3 was what was low. And that's why it was more the hypothyroidism. But it took us 3 doctors to finally get the proper test done for her. So, and here's an educated woman who's definitely an advocate for herself and had a challenging time getting doctors to actually do the right test. And that no one had even talked to her about PCOS. I mean, even at her regular gyno exams, like she was going yearly for her regular checkups and everything, and discussing, that the fact that she had these irregular periods. No one was even talking to her about it, which I see all the time, and is extremely frustrating. But one of the things that we worked on as well was because her body was on the colder side. So that's a big diagnosis point in Chinese medicine, that we want things to be warm, not cold. And so to promote function. And, she is a health expert and knows a ton about nutrition, but she was eating probably more raw food than I'd recommend, and not as much, I think, red meat, right? And so we changed things a little bit. She was very open because she was already eating a lot of these foods that I recommend, but we had her, change up her diet from being, still being super healthy, but to going probably more cooked than raw, and getting some more animal protein in there. And that's when we started to see the changes. Like, remember, body temperature was getting warmer. Like, this is before we went on the thyroid stuff. And we were having some cycles that were getting shorter. But until we really put all the pieces together, then it started to really come to. Like, I remember the month you got pregnant, you ovulated on like cycle day 21, remember? I think it was 20 or 21. I remember it like so clearly, because we were both like, they had just started trying. So it wasn't that many cycles into trying, but we both admitted to each other that if she didn't get pregnant that month, we both would have been very frustrated at that point, because we felt like everything was starting to work, but it was like she had the earliest ovulation she'd ever had, and it was like cycle day 20 or 21. And I remember thinking, like, we're doing it this month, we're doing it, and we did. I wasn't in the room at the time, but yeah, it was super exciting to just see her body shift too. And I think, it's just so I work with women all the time, right? And there's so many of us that are healthy and take such good care of ourselves, but it's like every body is different, and every body needs different, stimulation into a different area. And so, a lot of what I do is, I call it, I try to find the kinks in your system, and then I work on fixing those. And so the big ones with Arielle was, her energy was good, but she had times where it was low, and then really the body temperature being cold, and then of course the irregular periods. And so that was my focus. Like, how do I fix that, and really just kind of warm up her body, so that then the menstruation regulates itself and ovulation regulates itself. And, it required some time, right? There was months of work together, but we got to it. And also, like I said, what I always see in the clinic is that a lot of the times the doctors are missing something. And so, you know, I'm a mad scientist / detective. And so that's really my focus, is I want to find and figure out the, you know, of course I always focus on your wellness. That's my main job, but I need to find where these potential problems or kinks are in the system and regulate your body. And a lot of times we can do it without medication. In Arielle's case, I thought she was resistant to taking it at first. And I said, let's just try it. We don't have to stay on it. It was a super low dose, and, you know, but it made such a difference for her. And who knows, I mean, had we not met and had people not looked at, you know, deeper into the thyroid condition, I think it would have taken her a very long time to conceive or needed fertility treatments, you know, and that just sucks, you know. So it's so wonderful that we were able to work that out and figure that out. Well, do you want to add anything in there?
And not only that, but when I did go to the reproductive endocrinologist, what he said was, you know, sometimes you can get pregnant, but then you end up getting a miscarriage if your thyroid is a little off. Mm-hmm. He also said, in terms of now that I am pregnant, he also said that a lot of people have depression afterwards if their thyroid is not managed or balanced. So, you know, it is important to, if you do have any types of issues, especially with your thyroid, to get that checked. And at this point, you may have no idea, but I would definitely recommend to get your antibodies checked, because that's definitely something that I had to go through a few doctors to get the test for, but it definitely was a life changer.
Yeah. So let's talk about like the diet changes for you, because you might remember more than I do about the things that we shifted in your diet.
Yeah. So, you know, I've always really been interested, not only interested, but very conscious of the reading ingredients. I've always been conscious of the quality of meat that I eat. So I eat, you know, I've always eaten grass-fed meat. I've always eaten pasture-raised eggs. I'll always eat organic chicken. I am not as crazy about organic vegetables. When I can eat organic vegetables, I do. When I can eat local vegetables, that's even more important to me. I have a farmer's market right downstairs, or I used to, because I just moved. But anyway, in terms of ingredients and quality, that's definitely number one. So when I went to Aimee, I had already been doing that. But there were a few things that totally helped me upgrade my health. And these are things that I didn't actually really even learn in nutrition school. But these are things that have helped me, and even have helped my husband as well, in terms of our energy levels, and also now that I'm pregnant. So they're great habits, great lifestyle tips. You know, this isn't just a get pregnant type of diet that I was on. It's more like a lifestyle. And I know that I will carry on these tips forever, because they really do help with, I know that they help optimizing my health and my energy. Mm-hmm. So one of the main things was to eat. One of the main recommendations that Aimee made was to eat right when you wake up. So sometimes I would maybe have like a little something, and then I would go to a yoga class. Not anymore. I will always have some type of protein, 30 minutes when I wake up, within 30 minutes of waking up. So either it's a handful of almonds, it's a bite of a boiled egg, it's scrambled eggs, it's, you know, Aimee says a scoop of hummus. I don't really do that in the morning. It's some type of protein, even like a few Brazil nuts, you know, some type of protein right when you wake up within 30 minutes. And not only will that help with your energy levels, but it will help with your metabolism, and it will help get your body ready for the day. But it also helps balance your blood sugar. And when you have PCOS issues, and when you have thyroid issues, balancing your blood sugar is very, very important. And so again, this wasn't something that I was practicing, but it was a huge life changer for me. I would sometimes wake up and like eat like within one hour, right? But eating within a half an hour was really, really helpful.
Yeah. And then, yeah, I guess more of the warm versus the raw foods, right? That was another change.
Definitely warm. I started eating more red meat. It wasn't something that I was against, eating red meat. I am a meat eater, but I started eating more red meat. So I would find places that had grass-fed burgers, and I ended up feeling, much more energized by having this red meat. Other things that I would incorporate that Aimee recommended was bone broth. So I could share a recipe for my chicken soup, and Aimee has a recipe for her chicken soup. I also, I live in Manhattan, so I'm able to get delivery of pasture-raised bone broth. There's a place called Brodo if you live in New York City. There are actually a few other places. Springbone also has as well in New York City. But I would have either beef or chicken broth. It was like at least 3 times. 3 ounces, I think you recommended every single day.
Yeah, 4 to 5 times a week.
4 to 5 times a week. Or you could do collagen powder, collagen protein powder. And the one that we both use is called Vital Proteins. That's pasture-raised collagen. And that's similar. So if you're not able to get broth, that's something great that you could put 2 scoops into a smoothie, and it has like 18 grams of protein. And so that's also something great that you can have in the morning right when you wake up. But collagen, and Aimee can talk more about this, but it's great for your skin, it's great for your nails, but it's also great for fertility. And so I started incorporating that. And my husband did too, and he still has it every morning.
Yeah, perfect. I love it. Yeah, no, this is all great. And I have, I talk about my recommendations a lot in the book, and yes, you can get pregnant. And then I've also added things since I wrote that book over 4 years ago, or about 4 years ago now. It's crazy. Yeah, 4 years ago. So in the clinic, I'm always, depending on the case and what I see, we're tweaking and adding, to suit individual needs. And, we really started to see changes in Arielle from the beginning. Like the biggest thing I remember was you not having to wear the heavy socks to bed at night. You remember that?
I had very cold feet.
Yeah.
I would sometimes wear like sweatpants to bed. My husband was like, "Why are you wearing sweatpants to bed?" I would wear sweatpants to bed, and I would always have to wear socks. Sometimes I wouldn't have to wear sweatpants, but I would always have to wear socks. And then sometimes even back in the day, like in the summer, I would be like cold. I would have to like wear a sweater, and other people were walking around wearing like short sleeve shirts. I was like, how could they wear those short sleeve shirts? So my body temperature was definitely off. But then it wasn't, that was kind of like one of the only symptoms that I had. So I didn't really think anything of it, but it's definitely different now that my body temperature has regulated.
Well, now you're pregnant, so you're always warmer when you're pregnant. Now she's a human incubator, but
another very important nutrition tip that Aimee recommended was to eat every 2 hours.
Yeah.
And this was huge, not only in getting pregnant, but also during morning sickness and also during pregnancy now. So if you ask any pregnant person, they will tell you that they eat little tiny snacks. And so I want you all to get pregnant, start fueling your body in the way that you want to feel and you want to treat yourself when you do get pregnant.
Yeah.
But in any case, every 2 hours, I would always carry a little pack of almonds with me, or a Lara bar, or I would find places that had hard-boiled eggs, but I would always carry something with me, or I would know where to get something every 2 hours. I would always be prepared. And that definitely helped with morning sickness too once I got pregnant.
Well, because it's all the same root. Any hormonal imbalance is typically there's a blood sugar issue that needs to be rectified, and especially with PCOS. They're really blood sugar. Their blood sugar fluctuates all day long. So stabilizing that is one of the most important things that you can do. And again, like Arielle said, and like I always say, is this my whole program is about lifestyle change. This is not a 3-month get pregnant program. This is, I want you to change your health, and that's not just for your health so you can get pregnant. It's for the health of your pregnancy and the health of your baby, and then longer term, it's for the health of your family and what environment you're bringing that child into. It's that important, and we did everything from, and she was already there with like skincare products and using things that were, natural and non-toxic. And so she was an easier patient, if you will, on a lot of levels, because she was already in the loop, but it was still interesting that hormonally this tweak still wasn't being fixed, and it was, a couple things that we just had to, continue to persevere with, and it worked, obviously. Now a baby girl's coming in February, so it's amazing. But
one more, Aimee, I just want to give a tidbit, because a lot of people eat fruit for snack, and fruit is wonderful. But Aimee would also agree that you should always have some type of protein with it. So if you're having an apple or a pear, I always try to have seasonal fruit. Having it with a scoop of almond butter or tahini is a really great recommendation to help balance your blood sugar. Aimee recommends, if you do, and Aimee, you could talk about this, but if you do have dairy, you can have like a mozzarella stick or something like that with it as well, or a pasture-raised cheese or something like that.
Yeah, it's just super important that every meal has protein. Like, that's the biggest thing. And so, and that you're consuming some sort of protein from 30, within that first hour of waking, preferably within 30 minutes, and then every 2 hours thereafter. And that will really make a huge difference in regulating blood sugar and hormones, any hormonal imbalance, even if it's just you get real bad PMS or real heavy cramps, regulating your blood sugar will make a big difference. And then also the quality of the food that you eat. Organic is not a conspiracy. There is a lot of chemicals and pesticides in non-organic foods that are endocrine disruptors. So that means that they screw up your hormones, basically. And any meats that are not grass-fed or pastured, same thing. They're pumped with hormones. So you really want to be conscious of that. And you want to be conscious of all your bath and beauty products, that they're free of endocrine disrupting chemicals. I have lists in the book, and I'm sure you could just Google Aimee Raupp and endocrine disrupting chemicals, and there'll be several articles that come up on what to avoid. But all of these things are super important, and so you're shifting your entire lifestyle, because, as I said earlier, your health is completely, your fertility is a complete function of your health. And so if your health isn't aligned, then it's a challenge for your body to conceive. And it's not a top priority for your body to conceive, because it has other things it needs to work on. And becoming pregnant is a huge task for your body, and holding a pregnancy. So I take it very seriously. And especially, like, for any of you who are just on the path of thinking about getting pregnant, the preconception phase is one of the most important phases to prepare your body. And I always look at it as the recommendations that I make actually will reduce inflammation and reduce oxidative stress in your body, and therefore fight the aging process. So following all these recommendations that I make and the plan that I have, I think in about 3 months, you will cellularly be younger than you were 3 months prior. And there's actually research and science behind this. I think it's 3 or 4 months, the billions of cells in our body are all brand new. They all continue to renew themselves. And how you treat your body, so what you eat and the quality of life, and the toxins you're exposed to, the emotional state you're in, all of that affects the quality and the health of your cells, which affects the quality and the health of your eggs, of your husband's sperm, any of those things. So to step back and realize that fertility is not separate from health at all. And unfortunately, in the Western medical world, that's what they do. They break everything into compartments. So you go see a fertility doctor, and all he talks about is what's below the belt, and they're not paying so much attention, especially to the thyroid. It's extremely frustrating to me in my practice. It's one of the first things I find in so many of my patients. Even myself, I just went for my yearly yesterday, a new gynecologist, and she knows I'm a medical professional, so I think she treated me a little differently, and so she was like, so what labs do you want? What do you want done? And I was like, oh, I want a thyroid panel. So she's like, oh, so TSH? And I was like, no, a complete thyroid panel. I want free T3, free T4, thyroid antibodies. I want my vitamin D checked. And she just kind of shook her head like, oh, okay, you're serious about this. And I said to her, I'm like, this is what I do for a living, and these tests are not done often enough, and they're missing information. Women need to know if their thyroid's not working right. if you do get pregnant, there's a high likelihood that you'll miscarry. So it's something that's really important and can save you a lot of pain down the road. So Arielle, let's see. Let me see. There's maybe a couple questions. They're all just complimenting. I wanted to get into. What do you want to say? Sorry.
I was going to say, just on the topic of food, I just wanted to also mention that, you know, Aimee does have a certain protocol. She's very anti-gluten, especially when you're trying to get pregnant. And that was one thing, you know, I really try not to restrict myself. I am very, my whole motto is to take care of yourself, but also feed yourself with the most nourishing foods possible, but never feel like you're depriving yourself. But when it came to really taking care of my body and really upgrading my health, I knew that I wanted to try everything that I could so I wouldn't have any regrets. And I'll say that again. I wanted to try everything that I could so I wouldn't have any regrets. And, you know, for me, it was really just about doing the best that I could with the knowledge that I had. And as long as I had the knowledge, it was up to me to take it. So if people give you recommendations, whether they're doctors or it's Aimee or another practitioner, if they give you a recommendation, I would recommend, you know, try it, listen to them. Because, you know, that was definitely something during my fertility process. Even though it did take months and months and months and months, I never had regrets because I was just doing my best. So, you know, one thing was that she is anti-gluten. So, you know, when I went to restaurants, you know, I would never deprive myself of having bread at the table with the olive oil. But then I really started getting serious. I wouldn't have the gluten and I wouldn't have dairy. And when I went out to eat, you know, it started changing my lifestyle a little bit. But I didn't look at it as deprivation. I looked at it as though I was really upgrading my health and taking care of my body in a whole new way. And something that Aimee said was, you know, be grateful for the food that you are eating and be grateful, you know, you have a choice at every single meal to feed and fuel your body and to optimize your health. So, and that's not to make you crazy, right? That's not to make you crazy about every morsel that you're putting into your body. But you also do need to remember that whatever you do intake is also becoming the future eggs, right? Is becoming the future baby. And so don't you want to take care of your body in the best way possible so you can ultimately get pregnant and also have the healthiest baby possible? So one thing that Aimee said was, you know, see your food as really nourishing and see it as, you know, helping your skin and helping your energy levels, and picture your eggs getting really plump. So I always remembered that visual. And when I wasn't eating the gluten and I wasn't eating the dairy, I would always, you know, when I was eating, you know, the fresh pasture raised eggs in the morning, and when I was having my brown rice cakes with, you know, my almond butter and a little bit of chia seeds on top, I would always just visualize my eggs getting really plump and my body just really, really working to its full potential. So it's not seeing any of the protocol as deprivation, but seeing it as really optimizing your health and being very grateful for the food that you are eating, because you know, food is fuel. Food is great for energy, but it also can make your eggs plump, right? It can make your husband's sperm swim even faster. So food can be really, really, really powerful, and it is powerful.
Oh, it's so powerful. Thank you. Yeah. It's a great pointer and reminder for me too. I always talk about it in the Yes You Can Get Pregnant cookbook. I coined the term mindful nutrition, and it's this idea that we're not only being present and mindful when we're eating, but then of the nourishment and fuel and love and energy that our food is providing our body and the cells in our body. And then ultimately, you know, like Arielle said so beautifully, that what you eat is actually creating your future child, right? It's creating the environment in which the baby's going to grow. In Chinese medicine, the word uterus, the translation is actually child's palace. So that's how important it is to us. Like, we want this uterine environment to be palatial, you know, pristine and filled with the best possible nutrients so that you can cultivate life. I mean, it's a huge deal what our bodies are doing, and to support our body the best way we possibly can. There's plenty of people that probably don't eat supremely well and get pregnant, but the health may be compromised of that child in the long run. And there's research now coming out to support that. And, I never want anyone to feel guilty, so I always watch my words around that kind of conversation. But we can change that now, right? So even if, say, you are pregnant and watching and you've been not, so conscious of your diet, you can change that now and still continue to influence the health of your growing baby and the health of you and your family for the rest of your life. But to have gratitude for your food. And then even that was another big piece of what we worked on too, Arielle and I, being happy in the moment, which, she does such an amazing job of that. She's just, if anyone's been in her presence ever, she's just a ball of light always, and just pure love. She just radiates pure love all the time. So it wasn't, I didn't have to do, it was more, we would have conversations about self-love than me inspiring her to more self-love. But there was, and then we all have our moments, there are times when then we question, or we're harder on ourselves, or we're second guessing ourselves, or we become so hyper-focused on one thing, right? And it could be the thing of getting pregnant that we lose sight of enjoying life right here, right now. And to me, that's what separates me, I think, from so many of my peers and other practitioners, is the emotional piece is, I would say it's 50%, nutrition and supplements and, and lifestyle. And then the other piece is emotional. It's that important. And we say in Chinese medicine that there's a direct line of communication between the heart and the uterus. And the heart, when it's filled with joy and love and courage, it radiates that energy right into that palace, right? It makes it even more palatial and it beams, right? With light and love. And that's, may sound kind of hokey, but it's really important. And, it goes so far that in Chinese medicine, they don't even, or in China, one of their old wives' tales is that women who are pregnant can't even watch a scary movie because they don't want that energy around the baby. That's how.
Did you hear that? My husband took me to a scary movie the other day. Did you hear that? You're not supposed to go to scary movies pregnant.
Lee, I'm gonna.
And when you're trying to get pregnant either.
I'm gonna tell Sarah to stick a needle deeper in you next time.
My husband goes to one of Aimee's associates for acupuncture.
Yeah, he's the best. But that's how serious we take the emotional piece. And Arielle, you could share too what happened like the month that you did get pregnant. Where we're similar, and then we take on a lot of projects, and we can get very busy and sometimes lose sight of the why and being focused on the joy. And you had the month you got pregnant. Tell that story about.
Yeah. So, and I'd love to tell you exactly what I did to really bring more joy in, because Aimee definitely helped with this, because being in her presence and watching her videos and being on her coaching calls, you could just feel her joy too. And even just reading her book, that was one of the things that I fell in love with. It was just the voice in her book. So if you have not read her book yet, definitely read it. Yes, You Can Get Pregnant. It's just such a joyful, sweet, hopeful voice. But anyway, the month that I ended up getting pregnant, I remember I was in the Hamptons with family friends. We were sharing a house, and I really dedicated that month to just being my happiest self ever. I literally made joy my job. That's what I called it. I made joy my job. And no matter what was going on, I just put a smile on my face, and I would listen to really uplifting music. I'll tell you more about what I did. But what happened was one of our friends looked at me one day, and he knew that we were trying to get pregnant. And he looked at me and he said, "Why are you so happy? Like, what's going on?" He totally thought I was pregnant. And I was like, there's literally like no specific reason to be happy, but life is good and everything is good. Like, I'm just happy. I'm just happy. And that was actually the month that I ended up conceiving. So again, I was not happy for any specific reason. I was just happy, and I tried to just bring in as much joy and happiness into my life that month. And that's the month that I ended up conceiving. So anyway, a few tips on what Aimee kind of recommended in terms of bringing more joy and happiness into my life. And again, this kind of goes back to, I wanted to do everything that I could so I didn't have any regrets. But I did it in a really, I did these things in a very fun way. I didn't do it like in a crazy way. I ended up getting the book Marie Kondo's Magic Art of Tidying Up. It's called The Magic Art of Tidying Up, and it was a life changer. So one of the things that she talks about is only keep things in your house that brings you joy. That the food in your kitchen, the pillows on your couch, the vases in your living room, the products in your bathroom, the shower curtain in your bathroom, your bedding, the clothes in your closet, everything that you look at, if it doesn't bring you joy, if you touch it and it doesn't bring you joy, get rid of it. And that's what I did. I went through all of my books, I went through all of my closet, I went through my kitchen, and I just got rid of everything that didn't bring me joy, and I only surrounded myself with joy. So that's one way that I really cultivated more joy into my life. And I also thought that, a lot of, I wanted to make room. I wanted to make space for what I wanted to bring in, which was a baby, right? And so if I had all this clutter and junk and things that didn't bring me joy, how could I bring in something joyful into my life? So I wanted to have that joy in my life before I brought it in. So I ended up getting like new sheets for my bed. I ended up getting organic pillows. I ended up sleeping with an eye mask. That was actually really helpful for getting really good quality sleep.
And it helps regulate ovulation too, the darkness.
Yep. I started wearing more light pink. I actually wanted to bring like a baby girl, feminine energy. I also wanted a baby girl, but I just wanted to bring more feminine energy. So I started like, buying light pink flowers, and I would put that in my room. And I would wear more light pink, or if I, saw a light pink necklace, I would put that on. So and it might be totally different for you. Like your color might be coral, right? Or your color might be something totally different. But anything that you think of that brings you joy, spread more of that on you, put it all around you so you could see it, wear it, let it be all around you, let it surround you. Something else that I got were plants. So Aimee could talk about what plants actually do. But I bought plants for my apartment, for my living room especially. And that just added so much life and, fertility to my space. Yeah, so I think that those are some things that really brought me joy.
Yeah, and I don't know if you guys caught my webinar. It was like a week and a half ago now, where I talked about what I'm doing now to prepare my body for getting pregnant again at the age of 42. And I drew up in preparation for the webinar, I just kind of drew this little graph, and I wanted to compare my life at 40 when I got pregnant to my life right now at 42. And am I doing the same things, and in the joy column, was where I'm a pretty happy person for sure, and I can focus on what I appreciate more than anything else, and I tend to focus on bringing in more of the good stuff and not paying so much attention to things I don't like. But we can all fall into these patterns. But anyway, I was talking about how when we conceived, we just got back from Paris, and we were just in love, and we didn't conceive in Paris. We tried in Paris and we didn't get pregnant. I was bummed. I really wanted to get pregnant in Paris. I thought that would be so romantic, but that's okay. It wasn't meant to be. But and we tried a lot in Paris. We had time for it. So, but I thought about all these things, and there was just a lot of joy, and this book had just come out, and it was like such an exciting time for me. And, we were newly in love, and, it was just a lot of fun. And we were not even sure when we conceived, right? We were just having so much fun sex too, which I think is a hugely important piece to this whole getting pregnant part, situation. A lot of people just do the honey, I'm ovulating sex, and it's not so fun and sexy. So, that's what I was going through in the webinar. If you guys didn't catch that, you can go on my YouTube channel. It's there. But the joy piece is so important. And depending on where you are in this path, it can get more and more challenging to find joy, and especially to have fun sex when you've been trying to conceive for quite some time, and I get it. But, I just had this conversation in the clinic the other day with a patient of mine who's, going through some IVF, and it hasn't worked yet, and getting more and more frustrated. And they're called mini IVF. So they retrieve the egg and fertilize it, and then they freeze it. And so they won't do transfer right away. So she has time, and she was saying that she feels like she's lost herself in all of this. And she, doesn't like the person she's becoming. That's what she actually said to me. And I can see it in her, she's in some pain, and it's tough. It's tough on the marriage. It's tough on so many things. Like, she's alienating herself from friends, and, but so she started talking to me about this idea that maybe they would take a big trip. So they take the embryos, freeze them, take this big trip, and like just have fun, like have some wine, have some sex, like not think about it, and then, but she got caught up about, like, am I wasting time? Like, I want to get pregnant. What if I push it back a month or two, because they would travel far abroad and probably have to get some medications that would delay the ability to get pregnant. But I could just see it in her face. She lit up at the idea. Like, she got excited about this idea of this trip. And I knew it. I just said to her, I'm like, you have to take the trip. You have to, like, retrieve the embryos, like all the work we've been doing. I know the quality of those eggs are going to be good, and put them on ice, and you're going to go on this trip with your husband, and you're going to have a lot of fun, and you're going to get your mojo back. Like, it's really important to get that back. And, everyone's at a different place, and getting mojo back doesn't mean you have to take a big trip, but it's just getting in touch with, do you wake up in the morning and find things to appreciate, or are you just kind of, straight into the shower thinking about a million things that you have to do? Are you practicing mindfulness and looking around you and seeing all the ways in which you're loved and supported in this life? And, I really encourage that. I always encourage journaling, 5 things every morning that you're grateful for, even if it's, your new organic pillows, right, Arielle? It's like, it changes. I mean, bedding is so important. And especially if we're trying to make a baby, I want that bedroom to be swank. I want it, there's no TVs in bedrooms, I want it to be like a palace type of thing, where it's for, sex and sleep, and that's it. So,
clean off your nightstands too.
Yeah. I did all of that too, by the way. Like, I was so prepared too. Like, I was trying to call in the partner, the whole thing, and so I did very similar to what you did with the art of, I forget the name of the book right now, but the feng shui book. And I got rid of anything that was clutter in my life, and I got very clear on the things I wanted. And same thing, like I even made space, right? Closets were cleared out, and I lived in a small New York City apartment. I made space for another person. I made space. I would visualize this family. I would see pregnant women, and I would, instead of ever feeling jealous of them, I would think to myself, that's going to be me soon. That's going to be me soon, and I would get that sense of excitement about it, and what would it feel like? What would I wear? I did that. One of my patients, she'd had a couple she had 3 miscarriages, but she found out she was pregnant again, and we just got a heartbeat. So this is going to be a pregnancy we're going to take home. But she was very stressed in the beginning of the pregnancy, worrying about another miscarriage. And she was emailing me, and I said, I want you to start thinking. She's into lifestyle. She's a big lifestyle person. And I said, I want you to start picturing what you're going to wear when you're pregnant, like what those photo shoots are going to look like. And I want you to, start like imagining, the nursery and the pictures you're going to, oh my God, it helped her so much. She was like, this was great. It was so great. And it helped her just carry through and got away from the worry and more about the excitement, and I think, especially women that have been at this a while or have been through some serious challenges, it's hard to get excited because you're so scared, but you need to let yourself go there. You're worthy of it. And it really does help open up your heart to receive more and really invite. It makes that uterus very inviting. So the joy factor is huge. And, Arielle and I celebrated that together. We both, do similar things and live very similarly. But it was so fun to watch her just, make joy her full-time job and then boom, that was the month she got pregnant. I just loved it. It was so perfect, you know.
Aimee, two more things that I want to add about being joyful for other people. That's huge. So I remember when I was going through a lot of my frustration, I would see on Facebook all of these people getting pregnant, and I'm like, they're not as, you know, I wouldn't say like they're not as healthy as me, but like there are people that like are really not healthy, and you know, how are their cycles like so regular? And anyway, I would just kind of get into my head, and like I would follow some people that were having babies, and you know, I didn't even want to see their bumps, and I hope none of you have unfollowed me now that but you know, one thing that I do recommend to even my friends who are trying to conceive now is that something that shifted too in terms of bringing more joy into my life was that I started becoming really happy for people that I saw would get pregnant. I would be genuinely happy. I would like their photos. I would comment on their photos, and that brought more joy in, because when you have that jealousy, when you have that like nagging negative feeling, that doesn't bring joy into your life. That just brings more negativity into your life. That brings negative energy into your body. And your body's not going to want to conceive a beautiful pregnancy when you have, I mean, even if it does conceive, like you don't even want that energy in. You want the most positive, loving energy, right? So my recommendation is fake it till you make it. Try to be happy for all the people that you see getting pregnant. Even if you have been trying for 3 years, you know, just do your best, try your best. You know, yeah. And then also something that was really helpful was that I would look in the mirror and I would imagine my belly getting bigger. And that actually really helped with self-image too. So, you know, when your body does start to change, it's weird. You know, in the beginning you are bloated and nothing fits, and then your belly just starts getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I still look in the mirror and I'm like, oh my God, my belly is huge. Like, whoa, where'd this come from? But you know, I would literally stand to the side and I would look in the mirror and I would visualize my stomach getting bigger. And that was really helpful, not only for conception, but also when my body did start to change. So
I think that's great. Yeah, I would do that too.
Visualization is really helpful.
Yeah, visualization is powerful.
So any questions?
Well,
tell people to ask the questions.
Yes, we're gonna get into the questions. I want to go into this. You know, I have this little slideshow I want to show you guys. My latest offering with everything we've been talking about, and since there's only one Aimee, I went ahead and created a course that, you know, I think can really help optimize your health and fertility. And I have information I want to share with you, and there's some special bonuses from Arielle and I. So just tune in and bear with me 1 second as I do the screen share. It's
while you're doing the screen share, I will say, so I started seeing Aimee at her practice, at her acupuncture practice, so in person. But then she started offering group coaching sessions, and this was about like 6 months ago. And they became really successful, and there were a ton of women on each coaching session. And so I said to Aimee, I was like, you can't keep on doing these coaching sessions every single night. Like, you're going to get burnt out. And so that's when she created this online program. So the online program that she's going to share with you right now is an extension of the group coaching stuff that that I actually did. And it was so helpful. So these were like all the nutrition tips and all of the lifestyle tips and everything like that. And she'll tell you about them.
Yeah. So, I mean, you've gotten the gist. Obviously, this is a picture, though. I love this picture. This is me pregnant at, I think, like 38 weeks or so with James at the age of 40. And
do you have a picture of James? You have to show people James, because he's the freaking cutest baby ever.
I'll show you. If you guys follow me on Instagram, you get to see him regularly.
Yes.
This is a snippet of the collage that we used in the Yes You Can Get Pregnant book trailer. This is it's a huge collage of all the babies that I've helped bring into this world, and it's such an honor. And all these people send me these beautiful photos for Christmas. I get, you know, the holidays, I get like hundreds of photos in the mail. It's absolutely the most amazing job in the world, and I'm truly honored to help. So, you know, since writing Yes, You Can Get Pregnant, I have learned a lot. That's the one thing, you know, the book has a lot of information, and I think it's extremely valuable and totally still useful and relatable. But since writing it and becoming known as a fertility expert, I've obviously been treating a lot more fertility. And, you know, I've come to this conclusion why women aren't getting pregnant. And it's really these top 6 issues, you know, that there's inflammation, there's an undiagnosed autoimmunity, which was something that was going on with Arielle. There's stress, you know, both oxidative, so that means the cellular level of how stress is affecting you, and the emotional level, nutritional deficiencies, and even if that's eating more raw than cooked foods, you know, that you're not getting all your nutrition that you need. Then there's this body disconnect, which is a real big topic for my next book, and I dive into it in the e-course because I've been writing my next book, so you guys are getting information that's going to be in my next book before it comes out, which is exciting. But this sense of not being connected to your body, so not having the body awareness, you know, like Arielle was very aware that she wasn't ovulating regularly, and that something wasn't right, because as healthy as she was, what else was going on, right? And but there's so many women that don't even know that they're not ovulating, or that their periods are, you know, irregular, or that their bowel movements, you know, the digestion is off, and that has something to do with their fertility, right? So a lot of what I try to do with all of my clients is to get them to live in their bodies again. And then beliefs, you know, the beliefs are hugely important, and that's kind of what we were just talking about now with the joy factor, but also believing that this is going to happen to you, believing in your body. Arielle said that in the beginning, you know, that she always had faith and hope in her body, and a lot of women do not, and I want to change that. So the e-course that I created is, you know, there's 5 modules. It's a lot. There's over 10 hours of teaching from me. It's basically like me teaching a college course on improving and optimizing your fertility. So I break it up into how to take back the power of your fertility, you know, so that's the real emotional piece too, and starting to shift your beliefs about your body. How to treat the root of all fertility challenges. So no matter what the root is, that we can figure it out and we can fix it. What and how to eat to optimize egg and sperm quality. How to shift your lifestyle to support thriving fertility. And how to shift your beliefs and reignite hope. Which that, as I was saying before, I think is 50% of this, you know, and it is what really separates me from my peers and from other programs that are out there. I really dig into this in this e-course more than I even do in Yes, You Can Get Pregnant. Because I've been researching beliefs so much, because my next book is called Body Belief, but B, I see it in the clinic when women start to shift and say, my body is working, you know, it does work, or I did cut out gluten and my digestion is so much better, or my acne's cleared up, or my PMS has gone away. Like I'm working on fixing myself. Like things are shifting. They start to believe more in their body. It's really, really powerful. So these are what the 5 different modules have to offer. I don't want to waste too much time. There's a e-course page that we've created that has all this information on there. So I'll send you guys that link and you can read over it yourself. But basically these are the 5 modules. So it's You Have the Power, and it's your fertile body. And this one I really get into, you know, why age isn't the biggest factor. The lab tests, the really important ones, the ones that Arielle got, that I made her get, you know, the ones that I make everyone get, the science behind inflammation. Then really I get into how to identify the kinks in your system. So like for Arielle, it was, you know, her body temperature was cold and the irregular periods. And for other girls, it's acne, or it's rosacea, or it's IBS, or it's, you know, thinning hair. There's so many different kinks that exist that most people don't realize have everything to do with your health and your fertility. And so we work on those kinks, fixing those, and then your fertility thrives as an extension of your health improving. Nutrition, you know, and not only about what to eat, but also the relationship you have with food. I really get into this in the course that I didn't in the book. And again, super important, in my opinion, that you know, you honor and respect your body through nourishing and, you know, with highly nutrient dense foods that you love and respect and are grateful for. It's so important. And then we also get into how to prepare your food, like what to cook in, but also what pots to use, what storage containers. I mean, we give you all the information in this course. It really covers everything. Abundantly Fertile Living is another module, and this is all about lifestyle changes. I get into, you know, detoxifying your household and beauty and bath products, how to do it, you know, recipes to make yourself. It's amazing. And then the last module is your fertile mind. And I really, this piece is so important. I know I'm being redundant. And we get into choosing love and how to find more joy and, you know, why you're worthy. I think most of us have worthiness issues. It's very common, especially in women, that we don't think we're worthy of all we desire. So I really get into that in this module, and I love it. I think it's a huge piece to not just your fertility, but to being an amazing mom and partner, right? You know, when you really step into owning that you are worthy of all you desire, you shift, you radically shift. And so here's the other thing too. The bonuses, so the e-course is going to be available for just another 48 hours till December 10th. And with that, you get these bonuses. It will be available for sale after that, but you will not get these bonuses. So keep that in mind. So we have the cookbook goes with it. There's over 75 gluten-free and dairy-free recipes. And there's also mealtime mantras and meditations to go with your nutrition and your eating. We have a guide in there, living in harmony with your menstrual cycle. So it's like what to eat and how to live and what to think during each phase. The secret Facebook group is amazing. So you're surrounded by other women who are on their path to conception. And then you also get unlimited access to me in this group. It's outstanding. We already have almost, I think, over 100 women in the group right now. And I love being on it. I love reading how wonderfully supportive and loving everyone is to each other. It's just fascinating. And so uplifting. And I get such amazing feedback from all the women who are in the group. Each module comes with a workbook that you can print out. It has everything you need in there, so you don't even have to like go back to the book. Like everything is there. You get guided meditations that I made for you. You get a gift certificate to my skincare line, Aimee Raupp Beauty, which is my rule of thumb is if you can't eat it, you shouldn't put it on your skin. And I make some really nice skincare.
Oh, and also her body butter is really good lube, by the way, too.
Yes, it's really good lube. We use it as well here. We love it. You get these amazing affirmation cards that we made, 20 inspiring fertility enhancing affirmation cards. You can print them or just download them, whatever you want. Free access to all these types of webinars that usually I take off and sell. So you're going to have access to those. And just a reminder, this is hugely important. That's why I have the Facebook group. Women in support groups get pregnant twice as quickly as those who are not. And you might recognize the girl on the left. That's our lovely Arielle. And then, so tonight, in the next 48 hours, Arielle wants to give you some great bonuses because she's so, you know, loves this program, obviously, and wants you to benefit from it. And so she wants to give you $100 off an I Love Me ring or necklace, and a 30-minute Be Well with Arielle phone call, which is amazing, Arielle. And for me, I'm going to throw in a free 45-minute group call, which you can ask me any and all fertility questions. So in addition to having unlimited access to me in the Facebook group, you're also going to get a group call where, you know, hopefully you've gone through the course a bit and then you come with some really great questions, and I can help, you know, streamline the program just for you. These are pictures of Arielle's beautiful, these are her I Love Me necklaces. I love these. And these are her beautiful I Love Me rings. I love it. Oh, I love it's all different languages. I'm just noticing that.
So that's stamped with I Love Me in all different languages. Spanish,
I love that.
Italian, French, Chinese, Japanese.
I love that.
Stamped on the back too. So it makes a great gift. And it's $100 towards anything that you want.
That's amazing.
It's my gift to you guys because I want you to bring in as much self-love and as much positive energy into this fertility process as possible. So, and the I Love Me rings, I get emails from I Love Me wearers all the time, how it brought them a new husband, how it brought them a new baby. Oh my God, one girl like got a date on the subway the other day because someone noticed her wearing the ring. So
no, I love that. Wow.
So anyway, it's my gift to you guys, $100 gift certificate towards anything that you want.
That's amazing. Thank you, sweetie. And so here's the price breakdown. It's $872 one-time payment, or 12 monthly installments of $85. So pretty straightforward there. And, you know, I broke this down like perspective. So for about $20 a week, you're going to get almost 10 hours of me teaching you everything I know about fertility and how to optimize it, plus over $1,000 in bonuses, plus Arielle's bonuses, plus the 45-minute group call with me, plus the Facebook group, and then all the amazing support from other women who are on their path to conception. So it's a lot. I think you get quite a bit. Again, I'm going to send you these links in email, but here's the link right now, aimeeraupp.com/yes-I-can, and you can purchase the course.
And so can they do this on their phone and their computer?
Yeah, they sure can. These are all oh my God, testimonials from women I've worked with, which again are on the e-course page that I'm going to send you guys. So if you want more information about the course, you can go to the e-course page, and the link is going to be in an email to you later this evening. But if you know you want to purchase the course, then you go to aimeeraupp.com/yes-I-can, and you'll get all of my bonuses plus Arielle's bonuses. And again, these bonuses disappear at 11:59 on December 10th. So take advantage, because it's time for you to take back the power over your fertility. And this, just a great reminder, fertility is fixable and it is changeable. It is not set in stone, okay? You are not broken. You can do this. And it's really about you optimizing your health on every level, mentally, emotionally, physically, and nutritionally. And this program is geared to help you do that. Okay, I'm going to come back to you guys. Just give me a second here while I get back to it. I wish I could make that more seamless, but Google doesn't really give you the option. Okay.
You're doing a great job, Aimee.
Thanks. No, you know, but it'd be nice.
You're an expert. You are doing a great job.
You're the best. Okay, so I know we still have, you guys are all on, you're awesome. We have some questions. How are you feeling? Are you okay? Do you want to, because you're pregnant, I don't want to keep you on too long.
Actually, while you were doing that, I just had some of the miso ramen soup that I made with wild salmon, so and a hard-boiled egg, so I'm good. I'm good.
Okay, you're the best, honey. Okay, so I'm going to answer some of the questions on the Facebook page, and then we have questions in the email as well. So lots of compliments, which is so nice. Great information, inspiring. Thank you. Arielle, thank you for being so open and informative about your journey.
Something that I want to mention while you're looking at the questions, Aimee, keep on looking at the questions, but I just want to mention something too, that you know, as a health expert, I try to take care of myself in the best way possible. One of the things that Aimee first told me when she met me was, Arielle, if you want to start ovulating regularly, you need to gain at least 5 pounds. So, you know, very often fertility experts, doctors, or even Aimee might say, you know, there are some people who need to lose weight to get to your best fertility weight. And people always talk about losing weight. And you might be someone who, yes, might need to lose weight to get to your optimal health. But I know that there are many people out there that were like me, and maybe a little underweight. And so what I ended up doing was I started intaking more high quality fats, and I started just being very conscious of eating high quality fats. So I didn't want to get off the call tonight and forget that, because it's very important. And not to judge, you know, skinny people at all. I still eat a lot of fat, and not to say that fat will make you fat, but, you know, just make sure that you have good quality fat. So it's not, you know, croissants. It's, you know, good quality coconut oil. It's avocados. You can even put some in your smoothie or in your salads. Eating good quality nuts, raw almond butters, you know, things like that. Fish, grass-fed meat. So make sure you're having, when you do have fat, make sure you're having good quality fat, but make sure you're also having enough of it, especially if you think you may be one of the people who needs to gain a little weight.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. It's very common that even myself, I think it's curious because, like I said, we went to Paris the month before we got pregnant, and I put on like 4 pounds in Paris, and I got pregnant that month. And I'm kind of convinced that the weight helped because I didn't get pregnant. I mean, who knows? And now I'm at that exact weight again, and there's a strong part of me that wants like pre-baby body totally back, and I'm like, I don't really want to maybe lose those 5 pounds because we're going to start trying again in a couple of months. So maybe I should just keep them on. But I eat a ton of fat, and I recommend, fat is your friend, and it's a serious fertility friend. So, okay, here's a question. I have regular periods. However, for 2 to 3 years, my periods have dropped to 3 light days. What do you recommend? I've had 2 miscarriages in 11 years. Oh, sorry, honey, that's tough. It's hard to really make a recommendation without knowing your entire case, but when the blood gets lighter, thinner, we often say blood deficiency in Chinese medicine. So I would think about, bone broth on a regular basis, liver, red meat, grass-fed red meat, same thing, lots of fats.
Tell her what kind of liver, because that was helpful for me. So like to eat liver, but you could take it in pill form.
You can take it in pill form. Grass-fed liver in pill form. Dr. Ron's is the brand, DRRONS, drrons.com, and they have grass-fed liver pills from grass-fed cattle, and I strongly recommend those. Especially, every woman should be taking it, but especially if your periods are getting lighter, liver will really help with that. And then with the 2 miscarriages too, I would talk to your doctor about getting checked for any clotting factor disorders, specifically MTHFR or factor V laden. That's really important as well. Get those thyroid antibodies checked. Make sure your thyroid is in good range. Girls, your TSH should be between a 1 and a 2. As close to 1.5 as possible. Anything outside of that is not ideal for fertility. So if a doctor says, oh, your TSH is normal, and it's a 4, not good. And that could still fall in the normal range, but it needs to be between a 1 and a 2, okay? Can you have regular periods but still have PCOS? Sure. Not likely. You would still have some irregularity at some point. So not likely. You can get a diagnosis of PCOS though with ultrasound, but also your LH, luteinizing hormone, to your FSH would be a 1-to-1 ratio. That's a very clear indicator of PCOS. Irregular periods, how to fix it. So I think we really covered most of this tonight. It's really about diet, lifestyle, the emotional piece, getting rid of all toxic chemicals in your food and in your lifestyle is supremely important for regulating hormones. Beth says, thank you for bringing up all the babies on Facebook. Thanks to Aimee, I'm choosing to see each and every pregnancy announcement as a sign that fertility is all around me. I love that, Beth. Thank you. And then for PCOS, is gluten-free sufficient along with Aimee's protocol, or is completely grain-free a better way to go? It depends. Like, I think you have, that body reconnecting part, I want you to tune in. How do you feel after grains? If you feel lethargic and weighed down, then it's probably not the best for you. But some people need still some grain. So I recommend trying going completely grain-free for like a week or 2, see how you feel. If you have weight to lose, it's a great way to do that. If you are on the skinnier side, you might lose too. Like I just did a Skype with a girl yesterday, and she's on the thin side. I don't want her to go completely grain-free because if she loses too much weight, I fear it will impact her fertility, right? So you really have to listen to your body and see. Hope that's kind of a long-winded roundabout answer. I can't speak for Aimee personally, but I would say yes, she's amazing to work with. Almost positive the book is called Magic Art of Tidying Up. Yeah, okay. So okay, so these are those questions. Robin, I'll answer your question in a second. So I have a bunch in this email. Let me get to them. Sorry, Ariel. Okay, can BBT temperatures indicate a thyroid issue? Yes, if they're on the lower side. Ariel, were you doing your body? You were doing basal body.
I was doing my body temperature, yeah. So I was doing my body temperature, and they weren't that low.
Right.
But I know that a lot of reproductive endocrinologists, and I know, Aimee, you will say that if it's under what was it, 74? Well,
You mean the temperature, 97, you mean?
97?
Yeah.
97.4, right?
Yeah.
If it's under 97.4, that might be an indicator. I might be totally wrong. Yeah, mine were kind of on the cusp, but not that low when I had it. But it
Yeah.
might be a sign. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. I think if they're too low, and just in general, if you feel cold all the time, that's a clear sign of a potential thyroid issue. So the big things for thyroid: free T3, free T4, thyroid antibodies, and your TSH. I have all the numbers of what they should be in the course and also in the book. So you can find them there. You could also Google them, but maybe that's not true because not everybody talks about where they exactly should be. Okay, so I've read and heard that it's extremely beneficial to take a tablespoon or two of coconut oil a day to help with the thyroid. What are your thoughts on this? And perhaps adding Manuka honey to make it palatable. So also, you have any suggestions for thinning hair? I seem to shed a lot more when I was younger. Maybe that's an indicator of thyroid. It could be an indicator of thyroid for sure, the thinning hair and or PCOS. And as far as a tablespoon or two of coconut oil, yeah, I think, I don't know that specifically for the thyroid, but I just think healthy fats in general are really important for optimal thyroid function. So it could be coconut oil, it could be avocado, it could be ghee if you're dairy free. So it's ghee. If you're not, then grass-fed butter. But for sure, I put a tablespoon either, in a smoothie, which my smoothies are never cold or frozen. They are always room temperature, but I call them smoothies because I blend them. But I always put coconut oil in there and some avocado. So yeah, getting the fat in is really important for overall health and especially thyroid health.
I would often put coconut oil in my tea at night before I went to sleep.
That's so smart. Yeah, and I've been making similarly.
So like if you like milk in your coffee, yeah. I mean, I would even do like a little almond milk and then a little bit of coconut oil, and it makes it super creamy. And yeah.
This is a question about high testosterone, how to get them lower. Again, I think everything we talked about, like the number one thing to regulate hormones, I mean, of course, is eating regularly every 2 hours, getting a lot of protein, but the quality of your food is so important. So, and I would, in this case too, with testosterone being low, or testosterone, sorry, being high and needing to get low, it's showing that there's an estrogen imbalance as well. So estrogens, any pesticides mimic estrogen in the body. And you really want to watch anything that turns into sugar. So watch your grains, watch your gluten, really just eat protein, fat, and veggies. That's really all you should be eating, and that should do it. And then manage stress, because stress can definitely throw off testosterone levels. So I know it's kind of redundant, but it's the truth. Do you have any suggestions for lowering high prolactin? I was diagnosed with pituitary microadenoma at 16. I've been on, the medicines over the years, side effects. Oh, thank you, Angela. I'm glad. She says my meditations are great. She likes them. So I guess you're doing the course then, Angela, I'm thinking. So for prolactin levels, it's the same thing. I think it can just take time, not to sound, I know it's defeatist, but it can take time. Sometimes, I've had girls where they need to get on the medication to lower the prolactin levels, and then they get pregnant, and then we can get off the medication. So sometimes I've had those cases, but often we can regulate it. Maybe your practitioner needs to try different Chinese herbs. That's one thing I would think of. Yeah, and I would continue with the stress management, because for sure it's an HPO axis thing, so it's all feeding off of each other. And I know that's a vague response, but I would maybe talk to your herbalist about maybe trying different herbs, or even they can email me your case and I can give ideas about herbs. Maybe we try that differently. Okay, but the Vitex I don't think is great to take for forever, by the way. Okay, this is our last question. When we get pregnancy e-course, can our partner be on the 45-minute call with you? Whitney, I love that. Yes, Whitney, I like that. Whitney had asked a question about how to get the partners more involved the other night, Arielle, and so I was saying that I will do some Facebook Live. Like my one client who's doing the course, she says her partner sits with her during the Facebook Lives. So, but yeah, the partner can definitely be on the call and hear. I think as much as they could be a part of, they can watch these webinars, of course. Yeah, I love that. That's a great question. Thank you. But the answer is yes. Okay, and then we just got more positive feedback. You guys are great. Let's see. What are your thoughts on being gluten-free then eating it once become pregnant? If you have an autoimmune condition, I recommend not eating gluten even when you're pregnant. And then if you do eat it, it has to be organic and in strict moderation. What kind of liver to cook? Grass-fed cattle or beef liver, all great. Let's see, I'm missing some questions here, sorry. Thin endometrial lining, more protein, for sure more protein. You know, it's also about blood flow. So I would think about like doing heating packs, you know, hot water bottles regularly. Mayan abdominal massage can really help.
Oh, that's my favorite. By the way, everyone listening, Mayan abdominal massages are, I mean, maybe I just love them, but that was definitely something that I did and I love. That brought me more joy into my life.
I agree. I do them regularly in preparation. I go once a month in preparation for baby number 2. But it could be great help to you for increasing the thickness of the lining. Red raspberry leaf tea could help. I usually never recommend evening primrose oil, but in that situation, that could also help. So I would try those things and see. None of those things I want you on regularly. And then also remember that a thin uterine lining, A, that test is very subjective, and B, there's lots of women that get pregnant with a 5 or a 6 millimeter lining. So don't stress too much about it, because the stress will be worse for the lining than anything. Okay, I miscarried this summer. I'm so sorry. And then slowly started eating again once I became pregnant. Oh, well, Lindsay, I don't want you to be hard on yourself to think that gluten caused a miscarriage. You know, I think that would be a stretch. I mean, if you do have autoimmunity and it could have really kicked it in, but I would look more towards like an MTHFR issue, or if it was your first miscarriage, it could have just been, you know, bad luck, and hopefully it never happens again. But I don't want you to beat yourself up over the gluten. So let that go, please, okay? Send lots of love to yourself. Okay. You are both the best, such an inspiration. Okay, I think we covered, I feel like I saw another question about vegetarianism.
Well, touch upon that anyway.
Yeah, so it was something about, you know,
and veganism.
So I'm not the biggest fan of either. I love everyone and I respect your decisions and your ethics and morals. But I don't think avoiding animal protein is the best for fertility. I see dramatic changes in women when they reintroduce, even if it's just eggs and fish and, you know, ghee, it can make a tremendous difference. So it's really challenging to get all the protein you need and all the nutrients you need, especially your B vitamins, from a vegetarian diet. If you are a vegetarian and really want to maintain that and get pregnant, I would urge you to consider eggs, but then I also would say you have to soak and sprout all of your beans. It's the only way you're going to get all the nutrition from them that you need. I would supplement with extra folate. And for all of you, do not take folic acid in any shape or form. And if any prenatals have folic acid in it, any doctor prescribed extra folic acid, do not take it. You take folate, not folic acid. Folic acid is causing a problem with these MTHFR deficiencies. So please keep that in mind. Folate, not folic acid. But vegetarians or vegans, you really need extra B vitamins, D vitamins. You need those fat soluble vitamins. So, fish oils at the least, if you could take the fish oils. If not, then it's, flaxseed would be a good source. The marine collagen, if you won't do the grass-fed collagen or the bone broth, the marine collagen is a decent second. Spirulina, make sure you're on some kind of blue-green algae. But again, if you've been trying to get pregnant and you are a vegetarian or a vegan, or you eat lots of raw, uncooked food, I urge you to try something different, because chances are that's what's not helping your path. And sorry to be so blunt, but I've been doing this a long time, and I've never had a woman come to me as a vegetarian, remain a vegetarian. Even if I just get her to do eggs and fish, and sometimes I'll sneak in a bottle of liver pills. Well, I mean, obviously they know what they're taking, but they don't seem to mind if it's in pill form, that they'll take the grass-fed liver in pill form. But and if it is for religious reasons, you can get the okay from whoever you would go to, because for medical reasons, it's always overlooked, So I know I've had some very serious yogis that had to go to their teachers and discuss with them, and they always got permission, because if it's for a medical condition, then it's fine to eat. And even in certain religions where they have to fast, or same thing, not eating animal products, they go to whoever it is that helps make these decisions and get permission that they can start eating animal products. And I find a big difference when they do. So that's my story. I'm sticking to it. Okay, so let's see. I think we got to our thyroid antibodies of a 7, good. Yeah, you just want them under 10 or 20. Although some people say any antibodies is a sign of some autoimmunity. Usually when they're over 10 is when I start to be more concerned. Okay. So Arielle, you want to have any closing thoughts, and then we're going to wrap this up. I put it back on you.
No, my only closing thought is I'm just sending a lot of love from my uterus to your uterus, from my belly to your belly. And, I didn't really talk about, I talked a little bit about my frustrations, but, it took me, about a year to get pregnant, and I tried doing the temperatures every single day. I would wake up and take my temperatures, and I would take all my vitamins, and I would, go to yoga, and I would, what else was I doing? I was doing the OPK test to track my ovulation, and then some of them were so annoying. So I bought like the what was it called? Like the electronic ones that showed the smiley face, and then there weren't enough in the package, and I had to buy more because my ovulation took so long. So anyway, we all deal with our own frustrations, and if you are dealing with any frustration right now, or if you have been for a really long time, I just send you so much love, and just continue to be hopeful, continue to add as much joy into your life, and just try to be as happy as you can now without getting what you want, and hopefully it will come. I pray for you. So sending you love from my baby belly.
Yeah. Oh,
I definitely had some doubts, but I always had hope, and I always had faith. So
there you go.
Mwah.
Well, and that's it too. It's like, we both subscribe to the same notion that, even if you're feeling happy and positive and hopeful, just 55% of the time, it gets you into that space, so it doesn't have to be, you don't have to flip this switch and be 100% of the time.
No, I'm not happy 100% of the time.
Yeah, it's unrealistic. So anyone who tells you you need to be, you should not talk to them anymore. No, I'm kidding. It's unrealistic. So I think the biggest takeaway is be kind to yourself in all of this, right? And lots of love and compassion for yourself.
Yes.
That you're doing the best you can do. And I commend you for showing up and being here and listening to this and taking the time for you. And I have faith in your body, and I will continue to. So,
and listen to Aimee's recommendations, because they work.
Thank you.
Work them. Really work them. And they will work, and you will see differences within your body.
because yes, you can get pregnant. I believe that. There's a reason I titled the book that, yeah, I truly believe it. And, start shifting your beliefs around that. This can happen for you. You are worthy of it, and you can do the right things to support your body and honor your health so that your fertility will flourish. So if any other questions, anything like that, you can email me. But like I said, the e-course and the bonuses from Arielle will expire on stroke of midnight on December 10th. So if you have any questions about the course, feel free to email me. There's a whole FAQ section on the e-course page that hopefully will answer most of your questions. But anything, I'm here for you. And all I want to do is help. And I created this course so I could help as many women as I possibly can, because as of right now, I can't clone myself. I've looked into it. But okay, have a wonderful night. Thank you so much. Sending you so much love.
Be well, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.